Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. On that note, let's go to the news.
All right, cool.
Oh yeah, no, this is much less cheery than Neverending Story being eaten by the Nothing.
I dislike what's on my screen.
Yeah, no. So yeah, this was sent to me by Anonymous. This is our Anonymous. I promise they're not all anonymous this time. I'm sorry, Progress Only. I saw you commenting earlier. You didn't quite make it. No, it wasn't. There was someone else who was commenting. It might have been Progress Only. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, no. I got my news from a variety of people today. But yeah, no. As death rate surges, Texas asks Supreme Court to let it keep denying care to pregnant women. So yeah, this is coming to us from Rolling Stone. State of Texas is asking the Supreme Court to allow it to continue denying emergency medical care to pregnant women. Pretty please. There's been a new report that's showing that the state's maternal mortality rate has spiked dramatically since the state's first ban on abortion went into effect in 2021. Across the U.S., maternal mortality rose 11% between 2019 and 2022. In Texas, over the same period, the maternal death rate surged 56%. So, yeah, Roe versus Wade, like, you don't think abortion is healthcare? Abortion is literally healthcare, because as soon as they outlaw abortion, suddenly maternal death rate spikes. Back to Texas, unfortunately. So,
I want to go back to Texas.
Why would anyone want to go back to Texas? So over the same period, 2019 to 2022, maternal mortality in Texas rose 56%. And that's according to the CDC. All research points to Texas abortion ban as the primary driver of this alarming increase. Like, you stop allowing people to access healthcare related to pregnancy and birth, which, yes, abortion is healthcare, and shit like this happens. But the State Department... Yeah, so the state sued the Department of Health and Human Services, arguing that the Biden administration violated the Medicare and Administrative Procedure Act when it issued guidance clarifying that hospitals are required to provide emergency abortions if necessary to preserve a woman's health, even in states that, like Texas, ban abortion. So they sued over having to provide emergency life-saving medical care to pregnant people.
Like,
they said, we don't want to do that.
This is the reason why people are trying to travel to get this kind of healthcare. And it's scary to me that there are states that are trying to go, hey, by the way, if you travel to get this healthcare, that's bad. We're also going to track your menstrual cycles.
Anyway, back to the news article. We have to get through all these at some point tonight. Texas won this argument in the Fifth Circuit earlier this year, allowing the state to continue prohibiting emergency abortions. The Biden administration is now appealing that decision, and Texas is asking the High Court to let the Fifth Circuit decision stand. So basically, Texas sued the Biden administration for making them save people's lives. Who wants to do that?
How dare you make us do
that? Violates our rights. Having to save, having to have doctors save people in a medical situation, that violates our rights. And the Fifth Circuit apparently said,
old Gus. Fucking well.
There we go. But the
anyway,
the Fifth Circuit apparently agreed that it violated their rights to make doctors save people in emergency situations. But the Biden administration said, no, we need to take this to the Supreme Court because they're so reasonable nowadays. I mean,
yeah,
it has to be tried. We all know how it's going to end up, but it has to be tried.
Man, just a reminder for everybody here, we live in a world where the Supreme Court justices are a lifelong appointment. That's really awkward.
It's really fucking dumb is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the stretch, floor.
Like, that was probably made a rule when, like, the life expectancy was like 50 years old.
Like, that was a decision that was made. Not a good one, but it was made.
Yeah, well, if we look at the original intent of the founders, they actually wanted a revolution to happen when the ensconced power structures got too comfortable. And so that's really the founders saying that we should violently overthrow the Supreme Court. See how originalism can be twisted no matter what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, that is literally what they did.
It's true.
Like,
terrifying, but it's true.
How America started.
No, all we did was throw tea bags in the Boston Harbor. We didn't actually do anything besides that. It was just that. Only that one thing. And only ever that one thing. Don't you forget it.
They did it in red face, though.
It was only ever that one thing, and don't you forget it.
Trail of Tears. No, that wasn't the Revolution. That was the Civil War.
Smallpox blankets. But only ever that one thing.
I don't actually know the words for that one. From sea to shining sea. I was off key. I'm sorry. Anyway, the fundamental question, both cases, so Supreme Court dismissed an earlier case that was similar, Moyle versus United States. The fundamental question at the heart of both cases is the same. Should doctors be allowed to treat pregnant women with health and life-threatening conditions, or should those women be forced to grow sick and in some cases die because of a state law banning a specific treatment they need? And I feel like that is a decision that should remain between people and their doctors, which is why Roe versus Wade was fine.
Things worked perfectly fine under Roe.
Well, not perfectly fine.
They could have been better, but they were better than what we have right now.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer Alvarez Estrada Glick died of complications from her pregnancy in 2022. 4 experts who examined her case told The New Yorker that she likely would have lived had she been offered and accepted an abortion. She was never even given the choice. Because it was Texas.
Yep.
Yes, Circe makes you save 50,000 points. This is just a hat, though. And honestly, the hats are kind of fun. And I like the idea of like us discussing these super serious topics like maternal mortality and people not knowing why I'm wearing a hat because I cut out all of the random tangents that we talk about. So just like, why is he wearing a fascinator while talking about this super serious topic? And because I'm an idiot, I like that idea that I'm confusing people. And so I continue to do it. Anyway, back to the news article. Yeah, so she would have lived if she had an abortion, according to medical experts. But because Texas, she dead.
Who cares about what medical experts say? We should be allowed to kill women.
This is the pro-life party. Remember, they call themselves pro-life.
So pro-life, you can fucking die.
Attorney General Ken Paxton, assisted by the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is the conservative Christian law firm that helped engineer the destruction of Roe versus Wade, insists that he and his co-counsel are simply trying to ascertain whether Joe Biden's HHS violated the law by issuing its clarification without the appropriate notice and comment period and/or without proper statutory authorization. So basically, we're trying to kill women but make it look like it's a procedural thing.
It's just very, very important that these women fucking die. As opposed to...
They're dying for our freedom, Cirrus.
Yes, our freedom to watch them die.
Yes.
Can I be done with, like, people in general in the United States? That'd be great.
I have space in my basement. No, I don't really. But you're welcome in my basement if you feel the need.
I'm sure if you pour a little more concrete, there's always space for more.
It's a different kind of bodies in the basement if you're pouring concrete for it. Republican attorney generals like Paxton have increasingly begun outsourcing their culture war litigation to ADF, as Rolling Stone has previously reported. So, like, yeah, they've been very active in suing to protect the right to not let people access healthcare. Yeah, Yeah, and then after the Supreme Court struck down the federal right to abortion in 2022, Idaho imposed a near total ban on pregnancy terminations in the state. The ban included one exception. Abortions could be provided to save a pregnant person's life, but the language presented doctors and nurses with a difficult challenge, especially when it came to treating conditions like ectopic pregnancies and preterm premature rupture of membrane, both of which can be fatal if left untreated. They had to decide how sick a woman needed to be before they could legally intervene. And so this is where you get stories of people being told, like, oh, no, we can't treat you yet. Go bleed in your car for a few hours and come back to us when you have a fever.
We need you to be hurt more. When once upon a time, we could just say, oh, so you just want an abortion? Well, now's a good time to get one.
And we actually did talk about this. I don't know if it was when Roe versus Wade was overturned or whether it was shortly after that. But like we have talked about this before, about how the question of whether or not the pregnant person's life is in danger is not an all or nothing. It's like it's not like there's a certain threshold where at this exact moment now their life is in danger, whereas before that it was not. Because that's not how anything works in medicine. Like when you see in the movies, they're like, oh yeah, no, we give you odds of surviving of like 60%. That's not actually anything real.
It's always made up.
It's always a judgment call on the doctor that's doing the treatment. And 100% of the time, in cases like this, it's best to just let the medical personnel use their expertise to make their own decisions and not threaten them with jail time if a priest thinks they made a wrong decision. So yeah, it needs to be kept between the pregnant person and their doctor. And if that means elective abortions are also a thing, then so be it.
Really?
Also, I would like to mention, I don't know how true this is because I just heard it from someone in the chat last week. I didn't notice it until after the stream. But apparently an elective surgery is basically counted, like anything that is scheduled is counted as elective, because the idea is if it was an emergency, you wouldn't schedule it. You go into the ER and they have to get you in as soon as possible. I don't know if that's actually how they count things as elective for the purposes of statistics, but that takes the majority of abortions are elective number and changes how it should be calculated. It's like, oh, yeah, no, this baby has a medical condition where it is not going to survive, and so the longer we wait, the more risk there is to me. So let's schedule an abortion. Does that count as elective? Because I wouldn't say that's elective.
It's the same kind of weird-ass terminology that we have to dance around when we determine whether something was an abortion or a miscarriage, and we don't really have a solidified way to figure out which one it was.
And that's when you end up with people being charged with murder for having a miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's fun. Last year, a lower court halted in part enforcement of the Idaho ban, allowing emergency abortions at hospitals if they needed to protect the health of the mother. Shortly thereafter, though, the Supreme Court intervened to block that decision, preventing doctors from treating their patients in some cases, forcing them to fly those patients to a neighboring state for treatment. So,
which is just more like the entire point of that is not to do states' rights, is to make it prohibitively expensive to get an abortion, which it already was.
So, ignoring that, that's all the article I want to talk about. But, like, just take it back to the states' rights thing. Why do states have more rights than the people that live in those states? Like, this, like, it would be, for some reason, it would be wrong for the federal government to say either yes abortion or no abortion, but it's okay for a state government to say that? Why is there, like, how arbitrary is that delineation there? Like, why does it matter? Like no, it's the people. It's the people's rights, and in this case, it's a right to choose. And if it's actually a thing that, like, maybe we should leave it up to the states to decide on a case by case basis, then what you're saying is you don't actually believe that abortion is murder. Because if you believed abortion was murder, that's a federal thing. Murder is just illegal. So if you actually believe abortion is murder, then no, it's not a states' rights issue. It's abortion is murder. Ban that shit.
So this is one of the reasons why during the debate with Walls and Vance, Walls pointed out, and this is a thing that I've said on my channel a lot of times, so I was really happy to hear the rhetoric. Geography doesn't determine morality.
Mm-hmm.
Geography doesn't magically determine that something is good or bad. So it's very, very stupid that we throw this to states' rights as if being born in Florida magically means that your body has different rules and regulations that you need to worry about than if you were born in New York.
Absolutely. 100% agree.